What's up, AfterBuzzers? We are back in the AfterBuzz studios. A new year, a new time, a new night. And we got about 18 million reasons to stick around to the end of this season, guys. Let's talk about a million little things.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Are the dog days really over though? That's what I'm questioning.
Well, it seems like the dog days are just beginning for this crew. Just when you think that things couldn't get any juicier,
Right.
we get hit with 18 million reasons why we're going to stick around. What is up, AfterBuzzers? I am Laura L. Thomas, hanging here tonight to chat about Season 1, Episode 11 of A Million Little Things, Secrets and Lies. And I got my girl Yasmine with me. Hi, lady.
Hey, how's everybody doing? We're excited to be back, aren't we? It's been a long break.
It has
Too
been
long.
a long break. I feel like it's taken us forever to get back
yeah.
here. We're also missing a couple of panel members tonight. They'll be back with us next week. Yeah. How was your break?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, how was yours?
It was really good. It was full. Not quite as full as maybe
What?
the ones
There-
we've seen tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
But full nonetheless. So just tell me, are you into how we got back into this show? Was this episode everything that you like the past 4 weeks? Did it bring you back with a bang, or are you like feeling a little bit frustrated? Tell me, give it to me.
The way that it ended on the 10th episode, I feel, okay, now that we're getting back into it, they did it justice. They did it properly.
Mm-hmm.
I still am questioning who Barbara Morgan is. I'm still questioning everything that Ashley is. Like, who is she? What is she all about?
It's Ashley. Ashley, girl.
I am overall, let's say, I'm not pleased about what is happening to Delilah and actually everybody. Finding out what John has been doing, but it's keeping me enticed. So.
Yeah, and I think I would agree with that. I think the writers are doing a really good job of laying out sort of the breadcrumbs slowly of this mystery, because as it stands right now, and I found myself thinking about this as we were watching the episode, but I think that there's got to be some sort of a resolution or redemptive quality at some point, because this is a big problem.
Yeah.
Like, the affair was one thing, the baby was one thing, all of that. This, like, $18 million. So
That's not a smidgen.
that's not. And I happen to kind of maybe lean towards the side of Gary, how he's leaning right now. Or maybe this is just wishful thinking, but I'm hoping that there's got to be something to believe in John.
Mm-hmm.
Like that there was a plan or there was something.
Yes, going back to that plan as well, the way that you're
Yeah.
saying 18 million and the show is called A Million Little Things.
Yeah.
There must be 18 reasons,
Ooh, I like that.
Maybe. Who knows? He's leaving these trails. Maybe 18 trails or reasons. Who knows?
Who knows? Well, we're going to get into all of that a little bit later. We're also going to talk about Rome and Gina, how they're doing. Obviously, Maggie and Gary seem to be in a pretty good place. Everybody goes on a little 5K run. Danny spills his guts to his mom, which is like,
The cutest thing ever. At such a tender age as well.
oh, I loved it. So we're going to jump all into that. But first, let's kick it off with a little bit of Rome and Gina.
Mm-hmm.
So when we left them back in 2018,
Yeah.
so long ago, when we left them, they were kind of in a strange place. Rome was sort of figuring out who he was off of the medication. Gina had just found out about sort of a lot that was going on with him. And to me, they're picking up the pieces. I think Rome seems more like himself than he has in episodes past, as we're kicking off this episode. My question is, so Rome gets an opportunity to be back as a commercial director, and Gina has the opportunity to have her mom be an investor in the restaurant. It seems like both of their default is to run back to old habits.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like kind of run back to
In some form.
yeah,
Yes.
but and I as I could see it as the show is playing out, Rome does not want Gina to run to her mom for the money for the restaurant, and Gina does not want Rome to run back to commercial directing for to kind of solve their problems. So both of them are kind of picking these old habits that they're used to.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, I don't know. What did you think about
Yeah.
where they are?
I mean, to begin with, Regina still trying to figure out the whole restaurant issue, because now that we're finding out about the financial situation, who knows if this restaurant is going to be able to even take off. So that's why she has to actually turn to her mother.
Right.
And I do think it's interesting. It makes me think of the whole notion of, women empowerment, of her trying to be the breadwinner in the situation of seeing her husband being vulnerable, and she's really trying to avoid him falling back into that place and space that caused him ultimately to have this depression. And so you're right in that respect of why are they falling into their, let's say, bad habits or things that cause them friction to begin with. But ultimately, I think talking about this now, perhaps because they have been through this wheel, you know how they say, you kind of go through the motions and you've been there before, but in a different space and mindset. So maybe going back to these forces that they've been trying to avoid so badly, hopefully through what they've been through, it's taught them something, and that's making them stronger in a sense.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Gina does say, her mom does ask a really pointed question. She said, did you want me as an investor, or did you just want someone as an investor? And I thought that was really pointed of her mother, because she is here offering not only motherly advice, but also financial security. And sometimes I think those people that are closest to us can act as mirrors, even when we don't want to look in the mirror and see what it is that they're trying to show us. But I think she was when I don't know that I love the thing about her buying her cooking lessons after her last restaurant failed. I was like, I don't think I would handle it that way, Mom.
but also, it's kind of in a nurturing and sweet way, I think. The thing is, though, that's upsetting about that is that the mother doesn't see her daughter's talents as such and thinks she needs that extra support and help, when really it's not about that.
But it seems like her mom is really just trying to get her to get back to what she does best. She even said it in the episode, I'm so glad that you're doing what you do well, instead of, the stuffiness of the last restaurant. And I think it struck a nerve with Gina, and
Yes.
rightfully so, I'm sure, because she probably took a risk and tried something
To do it in her own way.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's such a mom and daughter dynamic. It really is.
It's very interesting to see that. And I appreciate that layer of the show, because, ultimately mom's the word and will always be there for support. But there seems to be something else there between them two, which I'm still trying to figure out.
So do you think, or how, if you could sort of write the rest of this show right now?
I don't know if I do such a great job, but
Well, does Rome go back to commercial directing, or does Gina let her mom become an investor in the restaurant?
I think both it's gonna happen for both.
You
in
think
that
both are gonna
sense.
happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm also kind of wondering what Rome is doing at the moment, and I know he's trying to get back onto his feet, but I also think he needs to get back into his male aspect. I think he's feeling a little bit off balance.
Well, apparently his things are everything's working in the bedroom for him again, and he's feeling very, very masculine in that regard. Which, hey, I'm happy to see that.
Great, yes.
They're
Because
happy.
I'm sure Regina was just like, "What is going on?" Like,
Well,
poor
yeah,
woman.
a huge amount of rejection involved in that. So, at least that's kind of
I love, yeah,
working its
working.
course out.
I mean, I do love watching their relationship, how it's developing, how it's evolving, because they've been through this hardship. It is a big thing for Rome to have to come forward that he nearly committed suicide, and she's really being supportive, and they're really opening up that dialogue. So I think between them two, they're doing it right. Mm-hmm. So hopefully now, whatever path they go, if she's going to have her mother invested and if he's going to get back into commercials, that they'll be stronger.
I think so. I think they will for sure, for having been through this. So before we jump into our next topic and talk about the 5K, do you have a little message for us to share?
A little message for all the
Please.
lovely AfterBuzzers out there
Give it to me.
tuning in. Our network produces after shows for nearly all your favorite TV shows, from dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There is no network that works harder to serve television fans, but we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels, of course. By subscribing to our YouTube channel, we'll suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, please don't be, because they're optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments, and we'll thank you on air. We do love to give out shout-outs. For now, thanks for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk. And don't forget to listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, right?
Everywhere that you can find a podcast, you can find us.
Yes.
Which is what we love. And if you're joining us in the live chat right now, please let us know what you're thinking about tonight's episode, what you hope is going to happen, what your hashtag little things ABTV, which we'll get to in our special segment later. Be thinking about that. And do we have anybody?
Yeah, we do. Tanya, we love you.
Hi, Tanya.
She always tunes in and saying how she loves the conversation in the elevator. So glad we got to see that today in this episode. We've also got Avalon, who is reminding us about Regina blaming her mother for her father's downfall. And saying, I don't know if he is dead or went to drugs and alcohol. Or was it because he left them and started another family? I forgot. But they did mention it. So that's another good point to raise, Avalon. Thank you for that.
There's definitely a lot of baggage happening there that I think is going to come out in the coming weeks.
That's why that grudge, there's still something there between the two, Regina and her mom. So yeah, that's going to unfold.
You can tell there's tension. Well, speaking of tension, we had a little bit of a, what could have been a tense moment between Danny and Delilah and Sophie tonight. And Danny handled it like a boss. I loved it. So basically, Sophie calls him out and says, Sophie has made the decision that she is not going to run the 5K after she finds out the news of the debt that John has gotten the family into. And she said, I'm not going to run a 5K for somebody. The 5K was for suicide prevention awareness. And she decided that she was not going to run the 5K for somebody that she, quote unquote, never really knew. That then leads to a conversation between her and Danny where she says, just because some girl that you have a crush on donated to your cause doesn't mean that I'm going to, stick my neck out there and do this. And Danny could have shied away and
because he was blushing and everything.
Yeah.
It was so cute.
And I loved, I loved that Gary was right there with him. Because Gary was kind of his right-hand man throughout all of this. And I feel like maybe having Gary standing there next to him gave him the boldness that he needed.
And I don't think Gary even expected it.
Oh,
he knew he'd just be there, but yeah.
Well, even Gary was like, you know what? We don't have to talk about this. Like, kind of tried to deflect for him. And I love that Danny stood up and was like, actually, Ella is Elliot. I want to just tell you that. And I love how Delilah and Sophie responded.
Yes. And it's amazing to actually see that as well, the children, how they have grown through this process. And he's just, I mean, they've cast him really well because he really looks like the father. But his response, he's just every time I feel like I'm learning something from this kid.
Yeah.
I
He's like
mean-
a little sage.
Yes, I love how he says, I was trying to be that person, the person that you thought I was, ultimately a reflection as well of his father. And it's like, you know, sometimes we question people's actions and some of the things that they do, and we don't really know why, but they're trying to portray themselves in a certain way to not be unloved ultimately.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we all do. Is
Yes.
only show the best pieces of ourselves.
But then
to the
I
world.
ultimately think the way that he has handled it, as you said, like just so amazingly, that vulnerability, I think, is the essence of what also attracts us to people and, you know, family members and things when they
Totally.
unveil that curtain.
Well, it's interesting that this episode is called Secrets and Lies.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
point.
Because he could have kept it a secret longer. He could have swept it under the rug. He
Could have lied about it.
could have lied about it, and he chose not to. And I think we all have a lot to learn from this. What,
Danny!
11, 12-year-old?
Yeah.
I mean, just such,
amazing.
Such a boss. And shout out to the actor who plays him, because he brings such compassion and empathy to that character.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan.
I know, me too. I
a
can't
big
wait to see like what happens with him. Not just like besides from A Million Little Things, what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
He's an amazing actor. Props to him.
He really is. Let's go on to Gary and Maggie. Let's talk about them in the context of this 5K. So they're back together. Maggie's decided to do the chemo, but not without, I guess,
A grudge.
on
still.
her, on her terms, which I can understand.
Yes.
She's decided to do the chemo, but she's also like, I'm not going to give up the things that I love. One of the things that I love is running. So we see her and Gary kind of go through a grueling 72 hours, as Gary put it, to train for this 5K. But she's pretty hell-bent on running this 5K.
Yes.
Do you think that's smart on her part? Do you think it's smart for her to hold on to something?
I mean, okay, the question of whether it's smart or not, I would
No.
say probably not. However, just because of what she said, you know, this is the only thing that makes me still feel like me, I feel like it's justified.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. I can see that. When everything around you, the only thing that I have to compare it to, don't light up the comments, guys. I'm not
Because I'm
saying
just
that
checking
they're,
this right now.
like they're apples and oranges, but I'll tie it all together in a big bow at the end. But the only thing that I have something similar to compare it to is pregnancy. So when you're pregnant, so many people are telling you can't do this, you shouldn't do that,
yes.
you don't lift that, you're pregnant, don't go there, you're pregnant, don't ride that, you're pregnant, don't like it really truly kind of becomes this thing where you're just like, look, either this can be my excuse or it can be my reason. And I always, of course, within like safety measures, like the health and like safety of the baby is always like priority 1A, but it is so easy for people to, I think, to get lost in a condition.
True.
Do you know what I mean? And
From an external perspective, obviously for like the love and care for you, but ultimately you know your limits, and
Yep.
you know you will set the healthy barrier when needed.
Absolutely. And I kind of think that that's what Maggie is asking for the opportunity to do. I think she's saying, look, I'm going through this. I'm fighting cancer. I'm going through this. I'm losing my hair. Cancer can take my hair, but it can't take my running.
That joy of her.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And so
Because you already can't have donuts and whatever, like her taste buds are
totally
completely changed.
There's-
So I mean, it's sad to see her going through that chemo process, but
Yeah.
we're learning as well what that process entails and the hardship of having to get everything up. And ultimately, you know, you have to make then that choice of, okay, well, what am I still going to hold on to?
Yeah.
And know that this is still going to be okay for me.
And I think that when you're faced with something like that, where everything around you and everything about your life is changing, if you can hold on to anything that makes you feel a sense of normalcy or a sense of self, I totally get it. So
Yeah.
I get where she's coming from. I was like Gary the whole time, kind of being like holding my breath, like, oh, is that really a good idea? No, you really want to run it? Okay. The thing that I'm like, Gary, I don't care how fast she is. You stick with her.
Yeah. And
Stick with her in that race. Don't let her run her race by herself.
I know, I was kind of like surprised, but then ultimately she was in front.
Yes.
But then I questioned, like, how did he not see her then when she wasn't in front anymore?
Right.
But I do love still seeing their relationship dynamic still going very strong as well. And yeah, that he's there for her and will run with her even if he hates it. And, you know.
Oh, Gary. Gary's in it for the long haul with this one, I think.
And
He's-
they empower each other and they still have this amazing banter. So it's great that they have that still.
Yeah. Speaking of Gary, he seems to be the only one of the friend group, even to Delilah, to be defending John and his actions. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that was like my next point that I was thinking about as well, because I get that because intuitively there's something there. And I also feel like there's got to be a reason. Nobody's perfect. And I don't agree with what John has done because he has a double life, having, you know, an affair with Ashley, having a separate apartment.
I don't know that there's a whole affair going on.
Or like there was something.
There's something going on there.
Yes.
But
Because Ashley, we also need to get to the bottom of her. I have no clue who she is now.
That's like a bottomless pit. I don't know that we're ever going to get to the bottom of Ashley.
Like we're still in the black hole. We're still
She
digging.
Oh, Ashley.
But yeah, I mean, and he has that other apartment. But I do, you know, I'm questioning the Rutledge issue.
Yeah.
Because why would he name that fund according to something that ultimately brought all these guys together? And the way that he said, this guy's going to have to save my family one day. So there's something there. And so I feel like Gary has a good sense of, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's just wishful thinking, but
It could be wishful thinking.
Yeah.
I still haven't decided exactly. Let's talk about, I do want to get into the $18 million and John's double life and the Rutledge and Barbara Morgan and all of that. Just a quick reminder, you guys, that we are on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere that you find your podcast. Please let us know that you're there. Rate us, subscribe us, let us know your thoughts. It's really how we connect with you guys and how we keep our show going. So let us know everything that you're thinking, and yeah.
well,
Keep joining us.
we've got a few who have joined the chat.
Hi guys.
Garrett, hello. He says, hello all. I enjoyed this episode tonight. Glad we got more clarity on the role of Ashley in the story, as well as seeing Catherine and Delilah working so well in a difficult situation. Thanks to Tanya as well, pulling up Danny's actor's name is Chance Hurstfield.
No chance.
Garrett also mentions Maggie wanted to show Gary that she wasn't hurting when it looked like she got much worse as the episode goes on. True.
Yeah, she was looking a little physically
Gaunty.
taxed.
Yeah.
By the end of the episode, but you know, Maggie's a fighter.
Yes.
She really is a fighter, and I think that was sort of my biggest problem with her resisting the chemo initially was because I do believe that she is a fighter, and
Avalon does mention as well, I work with cancer patients and these are the most bravest people.
I can't. I literally just like bow down in respect.
Yes. And the beautiful thing is that we always see them always coming together and supporting each other. And that's like one of our biggest takeaways week on week, that support of like, you know what, drop whatever it is because who cares in the end? But you have, you know, those around you are the people that matter. So always be there for each other.
The people that carried her across the finish line for that race.
Okay. But talking about that finish line right now, I'm sad because ultimately Maggie, she made that finish line with the struggle, but that I'm sensing a strange foreshadowing there because she didn't finish initially, and then as they started walking off, that whole roasted peanuts, that roasted, and then the tree in the background with the red leaves, there was something that was a little bit morbid about it, and I don't know if it's foreshadowing something. I don't want to say it or think it, but I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah. I mean,
Ultimately,
you know,
she still made it in the end with a lot of help and support, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I'm gonna be hopefully optimistic.
Yes.
That it was not foreshadowing in any kind of way, and that she kicks cancer's butt.
Hopefully. Yes. Please do.
Come on, Maggie. Let's talk about John and the 18 million reasons why we are here tonight. And
Are we though?
Well, are we really? You mentioned something, Avalon, I believe, mentioned something about Catherine and Delilah working well together. To Catherine being the one to break the news to Delilah about the 18 million that John owes, which now she owes. I respect Catherine a lot. And with every episode, I respect her more and more, because she is able to. I don't know that I could be in the same room as a woman who had an affair with my husband, or with my. I mean, I don't know that I. It would take a lot of personal growth.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's willing to kind of put that aside and help Delilah, I think speaks volumes about who Catherine is as a person.
Yeah, definitely. Very admirable woman and very strong. I question though as well why she does it. I mean, because these are all her friends as well. I do also sometimes question whether she still has feelings for Eddie. But then having seen the moment of when Eddie attempts to surprise
Theo,
that's it, right?
Yep.
Thank you. And then him being so sorry in front of Delilah and caring. And I think she caught that glimpse of, oh, he still has feelings for her that are subdued.
Even, see, and I had an issue with that whole scene. Not an issue, I guess. First of all, Eddie, how are you going to show up in Delilah's house without telling Delilah that you're going to be there? I would just be like, you gotta tell me these things, dude. You can't just randomly show up to my house. I don't care if you are surprising Theo. Like, it's my house. You're surprising me.
True, yeah.
You're just like, oh, I just thought I'd, show up to Delilah's house to randomly, and I don't know.
But they have this whole history, so it's like,
but if the whole
can
thing.
I let it slide?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, whatever we need to do to advance the plot, I get it. But I just had a whole issue with that moment. And then also, it was a very intimate moment
yeah.
between Eddie and Delilah. He really, he said he seemed obviously concerned for her.
Mm-hmm.
Dee, why didn't you tell me this? Like calling her by a nickname,
Yes.
All
so you
of
could see that glimpse of an interaction, and that was right in front of Catherine.
Right in front of Catherine, and it just made the knife in her heart. I just felt it twisting. I was like, oh my gosh, this poor woman can't catch a break.
Honestly, but she doesn't even catch a break. She still goes on to sort this case out, since her colleague calls her in about this mystery of the accounts.
Yes.
Still functioning.
So speaking of that, the Rutledge account, which gets closed by Ms. Ashley, but then it's discovered that she is continuing to make the payments on this mysterious Rutledge
fund, whatever it is.
Whatever it is. I don't. What is it?
Honestly, what is it? Tell us.
What could it be? Because so let's talk about the elevator scene a little bit. First of all, I was really kind of turned off by John from the very get-go.
Yeah.
He was kind of a jerk.
Yes.
He kind of was like a jerk when he came on, and he was asserting his authority and talking about his Armani suit and blah, 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 blah. And I was
He's going to own this building.
Yeah, I was a little turned off by the whole thing. I was like, ooh, John, that's not a good look on you.
And honestly, by the fact or the way that we're seeing this narrative unfold as to everything was planned, I'm questioning even if the elevator getting stuck was planned.
Oh, gosh.
That would be a whole nother layer, because before these guys, who was he friends with, or what happened, or what's his game plan? I mean, this guy is such a mystery. Who knows what? Yeah,
I
he had
can't put my finger
conspired.
on him. I really can't. I can't decide if he's just this like amazing family man that just wants to provide, or if he is truly this.
And what is it? I mean, I'm thinking as well from the story perspective, what is it trying to tell us about like people who start to accumulate a certain amount of wealth and whatever, and then sort of sidetracking it with some of the mistakes that they make, and then they have to hide some of the money and all that backstory that we're trying like getting exposed to. What is the show trying to tell us? You know, not just about him as a character, but like overall as a message.
So you think that John has gotten caught up in a certain lifestyle or a certain status, and that has led to a double life
Yes.
of maybe secrets and lies.
Yes, that are still being unraveled. And then he slipped up, he knows, and he's trying to do good. And I don't know. I mean, ultimately, you know, the act that he had done in order to hide all of this, but also there's something else behind it.
There's still a major piece of this puzzle that
Puzzle.
we don't know. And I think obviously it has to do with Barbara Morgan and this Rutledge situation. And
I mean, we saw Constance Zimmer now. The name still hasn't been said. It's not been said that this is Barbara Morgan. We can assume this is Barbara Morgan. We can assume it, but you know, we still don't ultimately know. But
Right.
like, yeah, there's a double life. There's something behind it all, and we
So-
all can't wait to see what happens.
I really am. It's like I don't even know. I don't even know where I think this is going. But I want to ask you: do you think John is, at his core, a good man?
I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt of yes, I think he is a good man. I think there is a sense for this Rutledge account, fund, whatever it is. I also think Ashley knew every step of the way his plan, because obviously she knows of this other apartment, that videotape at the end. We see that in frame as well. It's almost as if maybe she filmed it, even though that can be self-taped as well. But I feel like she knew exactly what his plan was, and why would she agree to it? Even though I don't think she knew that he was going to ultimately commit the act of suicide there and then, but that there was a plan in some form. She just probably didn't know it was going to be without him, and that she was going to be the one who's going to have to handle that step-by-step process.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see.
I don't know. If you have any thoughts, if you have any predictions, please let us know. I want
Yeah.
to hear what you're thinking in our chat right now. We're going to get to some predictions as well for you and I. But before we do that, we're going to jump into our special segment, which is our hashtag Little Things ABTV. And it's just, you know, a little gem, a little nugget that we took away from the show tonight that that resonates with us.
Okay, mine doesn't really resonate so much, but it's this episode specifically is telling me to just always have a backup plan. Seeing what Delilah's going through and everybody else, you know, ultimately, even those around you so much that you love them, they love you, and you always have to have your own back as well, just in case. You just never know. So that's, I guess, my biggest takeaway.
Yeah,
from this one.
I think mine is similar along the same lines. You know, Delilah sort of fell victim to checking out of her own marriage in a lot of ways. And you know, she even said in the very beginning when she's running, you know, he had me sign things all the time and I never had to read them. You know, I think she put some blind trust in her partner, which I think is fair, you know, after a certain amount of years.
Yeah.
You do kind of trust that the person that you're with is leading you down a noble path. But then also, you got to kind of look out for yourself too, you know, like know what you're signing, know what you're getting.
Yeah, because
Be involved. I guess that was my biggest thing. Be involved in your own marriage.
Yes.
Be involved in your own life, you know?
and then similar to the word involved, I mean, evolve. We all evolve
Yeah.
as individuals as well. And clearly we're seeing that, you know, even within a marriage and partnership or whatever relationship, people evolve. And so you always have to be careful in that sense, and don't start to rely, even though you hope that within a marriage and partnership that there is that togetherness forever, and it should be, and you know, hopefully, right? But just never know. So that's
Yeah, it's when you, I mean, and when the breakdown of communication gets,
broken. Yeah, it's the cause and reason of like what leads up to that kind of a relationship to then unfold and break.
I mean, it led Delilah seemingly to Eddie,
Yes.
and to his arms, and it led John to making
Whatever it
an
was.
$18 million mistake.
Yes.
So, I don't know. Just talk,
Just
people.
talk, be vulnerable, be open with each other. It's okay.
Go
People
to therapy.
will still love you.
Yes.
Those who love you will still be there no matter what.
That's exactly right. Have we learned nothing from Danny tonight?
Seriously, Danny, kudos to you. Chance.
I
I love that his name's actually Chance as well.
I know, I love it too. Let's chat about a little bit of news.
Okay.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Okay, just a little something that DJ Nash tweeted today. This is what he said. When we pitched the idea for this episode, ABC Network was generous enough to let us use a real charity. So what we saw for the 5K run, that charity, Give an Hour, led by, it's at B. Vandalen, does amazing work and have been incredible consultants for the show. So they must have been in progress. And they said, thanks, Dr. Barbara. So that's really nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I find that amazing that they actually incorporated a real charity into the show and probably gave some funds to it, and it's created more of a stance as well for that charity. And hey, it's kind of funny, Dr. Barbara.
I know. I was like, ooh.
And segueing sort of into that, there's a lot of tweets going out there about Barbara, who is she? We're still trying to find out, and people are speculating that. But yeah, I guess with Constance Zimmer, that's what people are tilting towards.
Oh my goodness. Crazy.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yes.
Well, we'll put the information for the charity in the show notes so that you guys can read a little bit more about that if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool. All right, let's chat about our predictions before we wrap this party up.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I always feel like I'm on like a spaceship.
I know, right? Like,
that
ooh, we're
happens.
going up into the future.
I really do. I feel like, you know, anyway, it's late and
Yeah, it is.
and I'm a little loopy. So
This episode has been loopy.
give me your predictions. What do you think
okay.
is happening? Where are we going?
Where are we going? And that's what I'm also questioning ultimately. As things get unraveled, a letter is going to be handed to Delilah. I question Ashley's surname as well, who she really is. So what the relationship, I think obviously we're going to see who she is, what the relationship is with Constance Zimmer, who she is exactly. Eddie, I think, is going to stop going on tour.
He didn't seem real happy.
Yeah.
No.
It was like a brief moment of like joy, but then realizing how he was connecting with his family over Skype, he was like, I miss, and everything that is going on. I think he's going to just stop going on tour. They're going to get to the bottom of it.
The money, you mean?
Yeah.
Oof.
Bit by bit.
Yeah.
We were talking about Regina and Rome. I do think they're going to take those routes as they've discussed. Regina's trying to make up with a new start with her mum. So her mum's going to invest into it with problems though, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, Rome will be back in commercials.
You think he's going back to commercials?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what else would he like. What is he gonna do?
Well, he keeps saying he wants to do his own gig. He wants to
film.
do his own movie and write and direct his own. I mean, even when they were saying, you know, who would you have it to dinner? And he said, I can't remember the filmmaker that he said, but he was like, he writes it and directs his own stuff. Like that's who I would. That's
a
who
good
I'd want to be.
point, yeah.
So, I actually think, in my prediction, I think he's gonna take more that route.
That, or in some sense, he's gonna meet this person.
Perhaps,
who wrote
yeah.
and directed part of either the commercial or just
Something's
in some
going to
way.
happen for
Yeah.
Rome to where he is inspired to stay the course,
Yes.
I think.
Yes. Something's gonna happen.
And
there.
not fall back on bad habits.
Okay.
Because then all of that work that he's done, you know, like with the medication and all of, you know, telling Gina everything. I mean, it's like coming full circle. Why would you get back on that hamster
Right.
wheel?
But
you
I
know?
think, like you're saying, with that name, he will get back onto that commercial, but meet this director, and something's going to develop out of that with his film. That would be great.
I love that idea. I love that. I think, oh man, I don't know how I feel about everything else. I'm really, really perplexed. I'm waiting to see what the brilliant writers come up with.
Yeah. And I guess Maggie as well, you know, seeing what will happen with her through that transition.
I think we're seeing some of Maggie's darkest days, but I think she's going to pull out of it.
I don't know. I don't want to be dark. I don't want to leave this on a dark note, but I actually don't know on that point.
Okay, well, you say you don't know. I say I do know.
Yeah.
Maggie for the win. And then her and Gary are going to go live happily ever after. And
Okay.
that's my wishful thinking. Do we
Yes,
have
that
any
would be nice. And I hope so. Because we do like a happy ending.
I know.
Especially because Gary deserves one too.
I know. Any predictions in our chat room before we sign off?
Yes. Okay, so let's say Avalon says, I believe the way they are going to get out of it, if John's name is false and you cannot sign a legal business document under a false name,
Oh.
that could be a twist.
Okay.
Garrett says, this show has taken a major turn from what the promo episodes were, and I won't lie, I kind of like this direction the show's going. A mopey tale about suicide is too Hollywood, in my opinion. With regards to John, I think he's a decent human being who got involved with too many things and snapped. He also probably had a hunch about Delilah and Eddie, which speds things up. Going back to Avalon, he's just added, and she is not really legally married to him. That is the only way she could get out of it.
Oh, that's a nice twist.
Yeah, that's a very
Okay.
good point to have picked up. Okay.
Okay,
So
well-
those are some of the predictions from our people on the chat. Thank you
guys
so much.
are amazing. That's what we live for. So, and there's only one way to find out, and that's to show up here again next week. So we will be here Thursday night at
9 p.m.
9 p.m. And until then, guys, let's keep the conversation going in the comments. I'm Laura L. Thomas. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Laura L. Thomas TV. That's right.
Yes. And you can find me as well on Instagram and Twitter at Yasmine Tanres. And my website is also yasminetanres.com.
Perfect. We will see you guys next week. Have a great week, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.